Got another history video for you today, guys. Today we're going to be taking a look at a brief history of the World Cup. I've been kind of thinking about this for a while. I want to know a little bit more about its origins, when it fully started, and just how it's changed over the last centuries of change. So probably not our most exciting reaction that we've had in a while, but we're all about learning over here.
FIFA's World Cup is the most watched single sporting event in the world.
Yep.
A culmination of a qualifying process that involves every corner of the globe, with over 200 teams competing every 4 years for the privilege of getting to the final stage of the tournament. Nearly 100 years old, the Cup had humble beginnings, a far cry from where it is now. To see how it has changed over time and why, what teams have dominated and how Latin America has fared, join me for this brief look at the history of the World Cup.
Latin America's dominated.
In Uruguay in 1930. But this was far from being the first international competition for the sport among countries. In fact, it was not even the first attempted FIFA-sponsored contest. The first distinction belongs to the British Home Championship, first played in 1884, nearly 50 years before, and disputed continuously for 100 years until 1984. The second goes to a cup that FIFA tried to organize to be played in Switzerland in 1906, but ended in failure. The main problem FIFA faced at the time was that it lacked both the organizational capacity and the kind of funds necessary to put on an international tournament.
Okay.
Not least because at that point, it barely had 9 member associations. Then, as it began to slowly grow in members, World War I intervened. So it was not until the 1920s that FIFA could put together any kind of competition, the football-soccer portion of the Olympic tournaments. But this was still an amateur contest, which put FIFA and the Olympic Committee at odds with each other, to the point that it was decided the 1932 Olympiad in Los Angeles would not include football as part of the competition. So FIFA opted to go ahead with its own tournament. Now it just had to find a host country and a way to pay for it.
So, I have to remember that the Olympics used to have way more prestige, because I don't think it's really looked the same anymore. From a lot of people from a lot of different countries, I don't really hear people get excited for it anymore. I see way more discussion around FIFA and the World Cup than I ever do these days with the Olympics. I guess like for very specific sports, it holds a very high degree of prestige, but yeah, I don't know. I don't really hear people talk about its importance with football, even like basketball, because the U.S. dominates that kind of pretty consistently. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really hear too much about the Olympics like I used to back in the day anymore. I say back in the day like wait, shit, I'm 30. I guess I can't say back in the day. All right, anyway.
By the competition, so FIFA opted to go ahead with its own tournament. Now it just had to find a host country and a way to pay for it. Several countries volunteered to host, but Uruguay offered to pay for all the participants' costs. This, coupled with other facts, decisively tipped the scales in favor of the South American country. First was the fact that Uruguay just happened to be celebrating the 100th anniversary of its first constitution, and second, that the country was basically the world's defending champion, since it had won the 2 previous Olympic titles. A fact Uruguayans still commemorate as World Cup triumphs, with 2 stars in their team logo.
It makes sense.
So FIFA sent out an invitation to potential teams, the only time a World Cup has been held without a qualifying stage. The Americas responded enthusiastically, but the Europeans were less keen, given the long voyage and the length of the tournament, which would keep them from their own national leagues for over a month. And so only 4 European teams, including France, Belgium, Romania, and Yugoslavia, made it to the competition, bringing the total to 13, along with the Southern Cone, Mexico, and the United States. The Cup was played entirely in Montevideo, and mostly in the Centenario Stadium, a venue made just for the occasion. The first game ever was between Mexico and France on July 13, 1930, where a volley from a French player, Lucien Laurent, became the Cup's first goal ever scored. Still,
wait, what scenes was this between? Oh no, I'm sorry, I think I missed something right there.
France on July 13,
between Mexico and France, okay.
From a French player, Lucien Laurent, became the Cup's first goal ever scored.
Lucien Laurent.
The Uruguayan tournament had some issues. In another game played by France, this one against Argentina, the ref whistled the end of the game at least 5 minutes before it was supposed to end. And the game between Peru and Romania barely had 300 people in the stands. But overall, the Cup could still be considered a success. In the final, where Uruguay became the first World Cup champion by beating Argentina 4-2, was quite a spectacle and a boost for future cups. Given the Europeans' complaints about how far away the original tournament was, the following two, in 1934 and 1938, were held there, in Italy and France respectively. This time there was a qualification process that also included teams from Africa and Asia. But there were still some issues. For example, the defending champions Uruguay boycotted the 1934 Cup in response to the European snub of its own tournament. Even worse, attendance was about half of what had been in Uruguay. But the major problems were definitely political. Mussolini, for instance, used the 1934 Cup as a tool for his fascist propaganda. And in the 1938 Cup, Austria was forced to withdraw from the tournament after the Nazis annexed the country. Still, the tournament went ahead, and Italy won them both under the leadership of Vittorio Pozzo, the only coach to ever win the World Cup twice.
Isn't that crazy, really, just to think how much influence that World War II had on just about everything in the world? Isn't that wild? It puts so many things in motion and stops so many things from happening that were going on, like this, like Austria's team. That's just so interesting to me, how much of an influence the build up to that war and post-war that had on just everything, even many things leading up to today. You know, it's crazy, man.
Another war killed FIFA's momentum. No tournament would be held in 1942 or 46 because of World War II, and there almost wasn't one in 1950 because of the lack of interest in hosting it.
But yeah,
Brazil
everybody's recovering.
through, though, and so once again the contest would be held in the Western Hemisphere. This still invited some problems. For one thing, there were multiple withdrawals after the qualifying stage, including India, who faced with a FIFA mandate that would not let the team play barefoot, as they had done in the 1948 Olympics, decided not to participate, citing the long voyage to Brazil. The Cup itself was one for the ages, however, as it featured some of the greatest upsets of all time. The first was the Americans beating England, one of the favorites to win the tournament, helping to knock them out in the first round. But the second was one of the most memorable and tragic wins in World Cup history. In the final, Brazil faced Uruguay, a seemingly foregone conclusion since Brazil had been destroying its opposition, and because at the time the format crowned the team with the most points, Brazil only needed to tie and they would win their first championship. The Brazilians even had a song ready to go.
Wait. They used to base victory off of points? What? That's crazy. So very happy they don't do that now. That's insane. Imagine you do so good in the final and it's just based off of points. That's crazy.
Brasil os vencedores, that is, the winners. All seemed to be going according to plan once Brazil went up 1-0 in the 47th minute. But Uruguay would soon tie it and score the winning goal with only 11 minutes to go in the game. The speechless Brazilian fans were so upset that at least 2 of them committed suicide in the Maracanã Stadium.
Oh my
and dozens
God!
more would do so throughout the country in the following days. Famously, the greatest Brazilian player of all time, Pelé, a 10-year-old at the time, saw his father crying at the result and consoled him with the promise that one day he would win the World Cup for Brazil. And indeed he would, but that was still in the future. In the
3
meantime,
times.
the Cup continued its consolidation as a major sporting event. Brazil's Cup was the last time there would be any withdrawals, and going forward, the qualifying rounds became more and more competitive, expanding both the number of participating nations and the number of matches necessary to qualify. By 1962, there were already 56 countries trying to make it to the World Cup. By 1966, it was 74, and so interest kept growing. It helped that the Cup began to be broadcast on TV.
Maybe we have this year.
The 1954 Cup in Switzerland was the first time. And that access to television around the globe grew at the same time, especially as post-war Europe boomed. In addition, the decolonization of the 1960s and the Cold War intensified sports rivalries, channeling nationalism into an event that was safer than actual war, but at times just short of it. Sometimes literally, as in 1969 when a FIFA qualifying round between Honduras and El Salvador became one of the catalysts for the so-called soccer war that took place in July of that year.
What's that war?
The other factor that helped raise the popularity of the Cup was that one of the best national teams of all time was first assembled around this time. The Brazil of the Jogo Bonito, or beautiful game, known for its lethal passes and fast dribbling, and led not just by the legendary Pelé, but also Garrincha, Nilton, and Jaime Santos. During that time, Brazil won the Cup 3 times, once in Sweden in 1958, again in Chile in 1962, and finally in Mexico in 1970.
That's crazy. Within a span of 4 cups, they won 3 of them. That's wild, man.
The one loss in 66 came when they faced a top Portuguese team that featured Eusebio, one of the all-time greats, with an injured Pelé. That year, the cup instead went to the English, their sole World Cup win. As interest continued to grow in the 1970s, and with broadcast rights becoming ever more profitable, the appeal of an increased number of teams in the cup became obvious, and so the teams were first expanded to 24 in 1982, 32 in 1998, and in 2017, FIFA decided that the 2026 Cup would have 48 teams.
Okay, maybe I'm not crazy, but I swear, like, the music in this video is like kind of throwing me off a little bit. It'll like pause and then just switch like every like few seconds. I guess it's the match kind of what's happening on screen, but it is throwing me off a little bit.
The enlargement made the competition truly global, with roughly 200 teams participating in the qualifying rounds in every cup since 2002. Likewise, the host countries for the tournament had been oscillating between the Americas and Europe for most of its history, until 2002, when a desire to expand the popularity of the sport brought the cup to Asia for the first time in a joint hosting between Japan and South Korea.
Damn, this is tough.
Then, the various FIFA confederations
What the
have taken
heck?
turns hosting it, and the cup has now also been held in South Africa in 2010 and will be back to Asia and Qatar this year.
Well, old news
Still,
now.
Even as the number of teams has grown, ultimate success has continued to elude the newcomers. In the 21 cups that have been held, there have only ever been 8 champions. Brazil has won 5 times, Italy
5
and
is
Germany
crazy.
4, Uruguay, Argentina, and France twice, while England and Spain have managed to win once. No team from outside Europe or South America has ever reached the final, and only 2 have ever reached the semifinals, the United States in 1930 and South Korea in 2002.
That's
Within
crazy,
that dominance, there are
man.
wide variance, however. There are perennial underachievers like England and Mexico. The first, despite being the inventors of the modern game, having arguably the best domestic league in the world, and thus a long list of great players, have little to show for it. In the 13 cups that have been held since winning it all in 1966, the English have only managed to make it to the semifinals twice.
That's tough.
Mexico's even worse. Besides Brazil, it has the most World Cup appearances, and just like the South Americans, it has the most consecutive appearances in the second round, getting past every group stage since 1994. But for all of that, the best it has ever done is 2 quarterfinal appearances at home in 1970 and 1986, and has lost in the first game of the knockout stage in every World Cup since 1994.
Damn. So wait, where do you guys think Mexico sits this year going into this World Cup? Because I actually don't know anything about Mexican football. Now that I think about it, some of you have told me that it's a little weird, not in like a bad way, not bad weird, but like it's not exactly explosive or wow, I guess is a way to put it, right? Yeah, I might need to learn a little bit more about Mexican football.
Usually in heartbreaking fashion.
Heartbreaking fashion, usually, jeez.
Africa as a continent also tends to underperform expectations, despite having great players like Didier Drogba or Mohamed Salah, and major upsets in World Cup
Mo
history in
Salah.
the first round, like Cameroon beating defending champions Argentina 1-0 in 1990, Senegal beating France in 2002, or Algeria beating Germany 2-1 in 1982. Teams from Africa are still looking for their first semi-final appearance. Then there are overachievers like Uruguay, which despite having a population of only a few million, has not just managed to win the cup, but has been to the semifinals 3 times since then. The Netherlands can probably be put in this category too, arguably the best team to never win a World Cup. The Dutch are famous for inventing a total football style in the 1970s under the leadership of Johan Cruyff, known as Clockwork Orange.
Clockwork
That way of playing
Orange.
earned them 2 final bids in 1974 and 1978 against the Germans and Argentines respectively, but they
I don't mean to keep pausing, but damn, man, Johan Cruyff is really he is generally the guy. It's ever since we watched that one video about me learning more about his like history, what he did for like Barca and a bunch of other things, he has come up in every single football conversation I think that I've reacted to over the last few months. And that was a while ago we reacted to that. I genuinely cannot believe how much of an influence he has had on this game, to the point where he is mentioned in like every single thing, from Barca to club work to famous players, how they've grown to now World Cups and the overall play style of an entire country, an entire region. Like, Cruyff was that guy.
1974 and 1978 against the Germans and Argentines respectively, but they lost both. Since then, they have reached the semifinals twice and the finals once, losing against the Spanish in 2010. And while it's impressive to have the consistency of teams like Brazil and Germany, which in the 40 cups between them have only seen 5 exits in the first round, the real fun comes from the surprise teams many of the contests have.
I agree.
These are the squads that arrive with little to no expectations and somehow end up making a deep run in the tournament.
I agree.
Teams like Cameroon in 1990, Bulgaria in 1994, Croatia in 1998, Senegal and Turkey in 2002, Costa Rica in 2010, and so on. That's part of the beauty of the World Cup. Unlike the Olympics, where wealth or political power are big predictors of success, so that the US and China dominate, in the World Cup, those factors matter less. Thus, in the 14 cups that the defunct USSR and the United States shared between them, they managed to reach the semifinals only once each, while China has managed to reach the tournament only once, in 2002. And on that occasion, they put on an embarrassing performance, losing every game and not scoring a single goal.
Jesus.
What about Latin America? The big three are, of course, Brazil, Uruguay, and Argentina, who have won 9 cups between them. Argentina deserves its own special mention, though, because they had the team where one player nearly single-handedly won them a World Cup and scored arguably the most beautiful goal of all time. Maradona against England in Mexico in 1986. The best the rest of South America has managed is a semi-final game for Chile when they played it at home in 1962, while Peru, Paraguay, and Colombia have combined for a single quarterfinal appearance each in 1970, 2010, and 2014 respectively.
I'm going to react to that final with Maradona. I'm going to react to that for the Patreon. I think you guys would actually really, really like that. Like, I can't find like the full games, and to be frank, I don't know if I could be able to fully do a full like 2-hour like video, but I definitely want to look at the highlights and just watch something of it. You know, I've so much has been referenced from Maradona. It's something I feel like out of respect, I finally just need to watch and show some kind of love to. Also, we do need to still watch like a historical video about Maradona's like history, so I'll make sure to do that at some point down the line. It'll be sooner than later, though, I promise.
Out of those, the best team was probably the Peruvian squad of the 1970s, which had legendary Teófilo Cubillas on its side, but had the bad luck of playing against a dominant Brazil of the Jogo Bonito and lost 4-2. As for the rest of the South American teams, Venezuela has never even made the cup, while the furthest Ecuador and Bolivia have combined for in 3 attempts each is the round of 16 for Ecuador in 2006. In the meantime, Central America's dominant team has been Costa Rica, making the cup 5 times, reaching the round of 16 once in 1990
That's interesting.
and the quarterfinals once in 2010. The rest have combined for 6 appearances, 3 for Honduras, 2 for El Salvador, and once for Panama. But they have never gotten past the group stage. El Salvador, in particular, had a brutal cup in 1982 when they lost to Hungary 10-1.
Oh my God!
Loss in World Cup history. As the cup has grown in popularity, beyond expanding the number of teams, FIFA has also created several additional tournaments, including one for women, one for domestic clubs, and 2 for younger levels, the under-20 and under-17 versions. The most important of these is the Women's World Cup. First played in 1991, this contest rivals the Men's Cup in popularity in some countries, and in some even surpasses it, like in the United States.
It's
the dynamic of
as it
success
should.
is completely different than the men's, though. Not surprisingly, it is dominated by rich democracies, with the US winning 4 out of the 8 cups, while the rest have been won by Norway, Japan, and Germany. Meanwhile, in just a few days, a new World Cup will begin. New stories will be written, new moments of heartbreak and glory will come. But one thing is for sure, millions will be following every kick and every save, quite a contrast to where it began. My money's on Brazil for this one, but I'm sure you'll let me know if I'm wrong.
Wow, all right. That was a loaded video, I'm not gonna lie. So it's funny to me that it had so much competition with the Olympics also. That's a crazy video right there. I do want to briefly say, with all the crazy shit that we've had going on over here in the US, I'm not in support of any of that chaos. I don't talk about it a lot because, to be frank, I try to keep this channel extremely positive for the most part and just lighthearted with all of the stuff that we're learning about football. And, you know, I just want to try to make sure I'm actually enjoying football. But I do know a lot of you have been leaving a lot of comments about a lot of the issues going on over here in the US. And trust me, I'm aware of it. I'm not in support of any of it. I'm mildly just kind of keeping my mouth shut about a lot of different things because you never know who's paying attention out there sometimes, right? But yeah, I don't support a lot of the chaos that we've had going on over here, so just rest assured. Anyway, in terms of this video though, that was really interesting. I didn't know that the Women's World Cup was primarily dominated by nations that, the way he worded it, nations that just have a lot of money. US, Germany, Japan. I actually didn't know that was like thing. That's funny. I also didn't know it was that young still too. Like, we reacted to another video that mentioned the Women's World Cup way a couple weeks ago, but I don't recall it mentioning when it fully started, unless I just didn't pay attention. I don't know. That's interesting though. I already knew that Brazil had the most World Cups, but what was I gonna say? I still can't get over the whole Johan Cruyff thing. It's crazy to me how much of an influence he had on this game, man. Styles, player growth, everything. And like I said earlier, I find that just so interesting how much genuine influence one guy can have on the entirety of the sport. But we see that a lot with a lot of other players too, I guess. But it seems like Cruyff is like the standout, the one above all of them pretty much. Not just for being an incredibly skillful player, but he's helped develop modern football in so many ways outside of him just being an incredible player. It's so cool, man. I love that. And I guess my final statement on all of this is I'm very curious, who do you guys think is like an underdog going into this World Cup? I watched a lot of the qualifiers. This is my first real World Cup that I'm actually like putting all my attention into. So I don't know a lot of the histories of these individual teams, but who do you guys consider like an underdog, and who do you guys have winning the whole thing, like flat out? Is there a team that you think is above all that will win? That's a serious question. I want an answer to that. I want to see what your different opinions are. What's your favorite World Cup of all time? Like, all of them. It could be 50, 60 years ago even. Like, what's your favorite World Cup of all time? Well, anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you thought about the reaction in the comments down below, and by hitting that like and subscribe button, you will be able to see more reactions on this channel. I am going to be uploading a couple of new videos to the Patreon that are going to be full game, well, not full games, like highlights of some crucial games that we can't react to on this channel because YouTube's very picky about that. I will likely have those posted by tomorrow or Saturday. Whenever this video goes up to, they'll probably be up around the same time, so be sure to go check that out. And hey, thanks for watching. Go check out the original video, which I'll leave a link for in the description down below. And as always, this has been Jay with another football reaction. I hope to catch you in the next one. Have a great day. Peace.